Familiarity with some of the new Lions coaches, and you got to like that.
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Matt Derry with you. It is a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today is Thursday, February 13th, and a Friday, February 14th. Got a little Valentine's Day edition of a Locked On Lions tomorrow. Thanks again for being with us, finding us wherever you get your podcast. A shout out to our everydayers who are out there that watch and listen to the program daily. Bradford Banta going to join us, the former Lions assistant coach, the former Lions special teams assistant coach, the former Lion long snapper and tight end. Also catch him on Fox 2 occasionally after games. He's going to join us momentarily to do a little state of the Lions, talk to Brad about all things offseason, Lions coaching staff, etc. Before I forget, I made a promise to some everydayers out there. Rachel Pritchard, who I keep mentioning. All right, but the Flagstar crew is at it again. I was at an event this morning at Flagstar in Troy, thrown by Kristen Shaoni. No, I will not make fun of her Lions knowledge, but a lot of people coming up and talking Lions with me. And I said, Rachel, I need a list of all these people that I am talking to that is mentioning and loving Locked On Lions. So Rachel, Kristen, my guy George Blake. George is everywhere. Emily Coulter, super cool chick. Valentina, Scott, Grant, the whole crew. I would say Valentina's last name, Zaituna. Yes, Zaituna. Great people at Flagstar. They love Locked On Lions. We've already talked about our guy Chris Kent. Thank you to the Flagstar team that checks us out daily here on Locked On Lions. Big news today is that the Lions coaching staff, as we know, has been undergoing a makeover, but we have a little bit of an idea of where people are going. First and foremost, it was vital that the team keeps Scottie Montgomery, their running backs coach. Highly thought of. The guys love him, and he's got a ton of NFL experience. So today the Lions announced Scottie Montgomery is moving from running backs coach to wide receivers coach, where he coached 4 years in Pittsburgh before he came to the Lions. So he's got great experience. He was with good receivers in Pittsburgh, coached Antonio Brown before he went wacko. Scottie Montgomery is going to become the wide receivers coach. Tashard Choice, who was an NFL running back and was Jahmyr Gibbs' running backs coach for 2 years at Georgia Tech before Gibbs transferred to Bama. Tashard Choice has been the running backs coach at the University of Texas. He is now your new Lions running backs coach. Highly thought of. Very, very respected. One of my guys, Landry Locker, who does radio down in Dallas, loves the guy. So Tashard Choice, who of course played for the Cowboys, was the Texas running backs coach. He's going to be the new running backs coach. Scottie Montgomery is going to move from running backs to tight ends. Also, the Lions are hiring Tyler Roll, who is the Iowa State assistant head coach and running backs coach. He is going to coach the tight ends. Little known fact that not many people know about Tyler Roll. He was a legendary player, I believe a running back at North Dakota State for years. Then has been an assistant coach at North Dakota State, his alma mater, on a couple of different occasions, including 2 years ago when he was their offensive coordinator. He worked with Hank Fraley's son, who is the center on the North Dakota State team that won the national championship. So Gibbs has a connection. Jahmyr Gibbs has a connection to Tashard Choice. Tyler Roll, the new tight ends coach, he worked with Hank Fraley's son, Trent, I believe is his name, who was at North Dakota State. So new offensive coordinator, John Morton. New defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard. Then you've got Mark Brunell staying as quarterbacks coach, Tashard Choice, running backs coach, Tyler Roll, tight ends, Scottie Montgomery, assistant head coach, wide receivers, Hank Fraley, assistant head coach, offensive line, run game coordinator, David Shaw, pass game coordinator. Casey Rogers will be running the defensive line. Sean Dion Hamilton, the former Lion linebacker, will be the new linebackers coach. Deshane Townsend will remain as the secondary coach, and Dave Phipp, special teams. Breathe. Woo, deep breath. There's your rundown. That's what your coaching staff looks like. One thing that I liked, again, that I like about this is Tyler Roll played. Tashard Choice played. These are guys that have experience as former players, and that has seemed to resonate in the Lions locker room. All right. They lost Antoine Randall L, who, of course, was a legend in Pittsburgh and a terrific dual threat quarterback at the university, at Indiana University. Go Sig 10. Go Hoosiers. I was there Tuesday night for Hoosiers, Indiana spoiling the Tom Izzo party there at the Jack Breslin Center with my good friend Joanne Gerstner. Great time. Saw a little IU victory. But Randall L was these guys all played. And it seems to, again, connect with the players when they're being coached by a former player, whether it's Hank Fraley, Mark Brunell, etc. And look, I expected the Lions to lose a lot of these coaches, a lot of their coaches, and they did. Guys jump ship. Randall L is going to get more money, go back home to Chicago, be with Ben Johnson. I anticipated Hank Fraley leaving. Him staying is awesome. I love that Kelvin Shepard got the DC job. But these guys, they're all guys that Dan Campbell identified. It's not all elevations from within. Of course, Tanner Engstrand left to go to the Jets, but they're finding people that fit what the Lions do and how the Lions preach their messaging to the players. And so I really like what the staff looks like. Yes, we all should be concerned because Ben Johnson was unreal. Aaron Glenn, the last couple of years, did a fantastic job. These guys were 2 of the top 5 assistant coaches in all of football, voted on by the AP. I mean, they were in the awards. So those are going to be tough to replace. But remember, talent still wins. We played that Belichick clip from a couple of weeks ago on the podcast. Yes, Bill was an excellent coach and had very good coaches on his staff, but you got to have players. And the Lions have players, and they've got now, I think, a pretty good foundation of assistant coaches. Bradford Banta, who used to be an assistant coach of the Lions, I'll ask him coming up next what he thinks of the new assistant coaches on the staff. We'll do that right here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen and checking us out, again, wherever you get your podcasts. And Locked On Lions today brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. As a small business owner, your work doesn't end when the clock hits 5. Your business is always on your mind, which means when it's time to hire, you need a partner that works just as hard as you do. That's where LinkedIn Jobs comes in. When you clock out, LinkedIn clocks in. LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, share it with your network, and get qualified candidates too, all in one place. Post your job. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions and then quickly get your job in front of the right people with deep candidate insights. And here's a pro tip. Add the hashtag hiring frame, I've got that on mine, to your profile picture to double your reach to qualified candidates. No wonder 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn helps them find high-quality hires. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. My main man, Bradford Banta, with us, former Lion, of course, on the coaching side, and played and long snapped and tight end for many, many years. Joins us on the Thursday program. Bradford, good to see you.
Good to be seen. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you
What's
having
happening, buddy? How about that snow today? Did you enjoy that?
No.
Well, where are you on snow? Let's get into this.
Okay.
You were in the South for a long time, but you've been up here a long time. Where do you sit on the snow levels here?
Yeah, I tell you what, not a fan.
Okay.
But here's the thing about it. It's fun I picked up snow skiing since I moved up here, which has been a plus. Tubing, all that kind of extracurricular stuff outside. It's fun as long as you're prepared for it. It's not fun whenever you don't have anything to do. Let's say you want to go walk the dogs. Well, it takes you about a half hour to get ready to go walk the dogs. So, but hey, it is what it is.
Now, you played in Detroit, Indy, Buffalo. Oh, come on.
Yeah. Yeah. So a good one about that was, let's see, whenever I was up in Buffalo, we get done with a Friday practice. We're playing San Francisco on the 26th of December.
Yeah.
So we're going to fly out Christmas Day. We get done with practice at 2. I get back to my room at, let's just say 3:30. And then I was going to go over to some teammates' house to have, Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
It starts snowing around 4:00. Supposed to be there at 7. And in that 2.5 hour time period, 4:30 it started snowing. In that 2.5 hour time period, probably got 18 to 24 inches.
Oh, geez.
And I called him up and I was like, hey, I just don't see me coming over tonight. I'm just going to chill here. And they're like, all right, yeah, no, we get it. We understand. Yeah. So, and then, it wasn't as bad as Buffalo had it. Was it last year that?
Yeah, they got hit hard.
Dug,
yeah.
Some of the players out and delivered them to the airport via snowmobile. But it wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough for me.
So the Lions, since you and I have last talked, obviously the Lions have lost some unbelievable assistant coaches, and that's part of the deal when you win. As guys like Ben Johnson, we knew Aaron Glenn would be moving on. I want to ask you, as somebody that's been in these locker rooms as both a player and a coach, Lions have added a lot of good assistants that, again, have played the game. Today, Tashard Choice, can be the running backs coach, played. Tyler Roll, the tight ends coach, has played. How important is that for the players to have those mentors that have been out there and put the pads on?
I think it brings instant credibility to the room whenever a player steps in there. I mean, you talk about like Antoine Randall in the room that he has to handle, and doing the things that he's done in his career. And then the approach, and it's all about the attitude that you take with coaching. And really, these players become your kids. So it's kind of, what kind of parent are you? And, do you let things slide? Do you not let things slide? Which I know Antoine doesn't. You can just tell by his demeanor on the sideline. But at the same time, when they do something bad, jump them. When they do something good, put your arm around them. And it's always, and it's up to the coach. And it doesn't matter whether the coach played or not, as long as he's consistent in his delivery. And by being consistent, it's finding out what buttons you have to push for each individual player to get them to succeed to the best of their ability.
Do you, keeping Hank Fraley, for example, and they've elevated some of these guys to assistant head coach to kind of probably add some zeros to the contract. But how key is that for this O-line? I mean, is that the most important, I guess, keeper here is a guy like Hank Fraley for this staff?
Yeah, I mean, losing Ben was huge on the offensive side of the ball.
Sure.
But I mean, now you're replacing him with Johnny. So it's Johnny and I have been in similar places, but we've never coached together. We've met and we've talked. But I just, I think John's going to step in and do a good job with him. So, and then the key is to establish that relationship that Ben had with Goff. And as long as you can do that and keep everything fresh and always have, a couple of whoop-de-doo plays that you can put in there and, and keep the offensive juices flowing for those guys. And who knows, and I'm willing to bet that Detroit probably ran some of these trick plays. They would run them just like once a week.
Yeah.
They would put them in, let's say week 3, and run it, slide it in at some point during the week and just run it just to keep the guys fresh on what's to come down the pike. And then whenever they call it in the game, they're like, okay, we have, let's say 10 plus reps at this certain play. It's nothing but a thing. And we've gotten all the kinks worked out. So it's kind of like, it's like whenever you write something, you have a rough draft, you have an outline, you have a rough draft, and then you continuously refine it. So that's what I think they're doing.
Or you just go on ChatGPT. I'm a father of college kids. You're a father of your son is in high school. That's we got to keep our eye on that, don't we, Brad?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So it's
Bradford Banta with us. Also, check him out on Fox 2 as well. He's done some post-game work on the Lions post-game shows. You mentioned Ben Johnson before. How do you like the fit in Chicago? It sounds like this was a done deal back in like November, but like, how do you like that fit? And how good can the Bears, do you think they'll be? How fast will it take him to finally push the right buttons there?
It's his philosophy melding with the type of player that Caleb Williams is. And can they protect Caleb Williams? That's really what it's going to boil down to, because Caleb does an excellent job of off-schedule throws, whereas Goff was more of the pocket passer, progression, that type of stuff, and it's Ben's going to have to adjust a little bit, and Caleb's going to have to adjust a little bit, and it's more of one's not open, two's not open, three's open, throw it. Instead of waiting for one to possibly come open, let me run around a little bit because I really want to get it to my first read. So,
Are you obviously as somebody that's played and coached, this notion, and it's not a lot of fans, it's some fans that have asked me or even put comments up on social media. Ben was interviewing for jobs. Aaron Glenn was interviewing for jobs. Even Hank Fraley. Were these coaches distracted during that downtime that they were interviewing heading into the Commanders game? Is there any validity to that at all in your mind?
No, there's not. Kellen Moore was interviewing for jobs. He still called a phenomenal game plan. It still boils down to players making plays.
Yeah.
You had, you had several Kansas City staff interviewing for jobs. You had, I believe, some of the Commander front office staff was interviewing for jobs, and I would imagine some of the other coaches were as well. Kingsbury, he was interviewing for a head coaching job. That didn't hinder him in any way. But it's just, it's really, it's something to write about and it's something to fill space. But these guys are professional as well. And you handle the business at hand because what's at stake.
Yeah.
And you have to lay everything on the line for that. But at the same time, all this work and all this interview stuff, I mean, it's just like running trick plays. All that work was done before the season even started. They did that in their downtime. They just worked on refining it a little bit for their interviews. And I don't see that being a hindrance to any team, because all the other teams that are having success, their coaches are doing the same thing. They're having interviews as well.
Great point. Bradford Banta with us, the former Lion. We'll talk about 2025, what that looks like. We got free agency coming up in the draft. Want to get Brad's thoughts on that. We'll do that coming up next. But first, Locked On Lions today brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. If you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Hopefully you had the Pistons the last couple of nights against the Bulls, had a money line or whatever, you cashed in because the Pistons destroyed Chicago the last two nights. FanDuel's live betting feature is great because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Plus, the app is easy to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get more details, FanDuel.com. Use your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with our friends at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back with our buddy Bradford Banta, the former Lions long snapper and tight end, also was assistant special teams coach, and was also at University of Michigan as well. Check him out on Fox 2 during the season also. All right, Brad, you're looking at free agency here. The Zeitlers, the Carlton Davises, Malafanu, Onwuzurike. Are there a couple in there that you're like, hey, the Lions have got to retain and re-sign? Who's at the top of your list?
Oh, I would have to say corner. So I would definitely, keep Carlton Davis.
Yeah.
So, go after him. You're hoping that through the draft and past drafts, some of these interior players are starting to mature and learn the game so they can step in where needed. I believe you're going to have to address the edge.
Yep.
And I see them sticking with what has worked for them in the past, which is build from the interior out. So you have your receivers, you have your quarterback, you got your runners. Defensively, you just got to stay healthy. Yeah. I mean, that's the key. But I could see them addressing those needs via the draft or free agency.
Would you be stunned if Brad pulled the trigger and said, all right, I'll send a couple of number ones and Hendon Hooker to the Browns for Myles Garrett? Do you think that he's ready to hit a home run, or is he staying the course with how he's done it the last couple of years, do you think?
Stay in the course with the way he's done it. To give up that much draft capital to go after Myles Garrett, that's going to be a little tough. Now, is he an impact player? Yeah. He is.
Right.
No, he definitely is. And what you can kind of equate it to is whenever the Bears got Julius Peppers, what did they give up? I can't remember.
They gave up a number one, at least one. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. They gave up a number one. Are they willing to do that again? Or not again, but are they willing to do what the Bears did? So I don't know.
But Garrett on one side and Hutch on the other would be pretty tasty, though.
You think so? Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think you'd have a couple mismatches there.
Oh my gosh. See, if you would have been playing against them, they'd be like, you're not running a pattern today. You're just going to stay in a chip, right? The whole time.
Well, that's all I did anyway. So.
Oh, come on. All right. So I love your philosophy. So, with the interior defensive line, it's interesting because it's like, all right, Aleem McNeil will, of course, be back. The question is, how healthy will he be come September? And if he'll be ready. Reader, not probably worth the money they spent on him last year. And hopefully he has a better year. But, Broderick Martin has been a no-show for 2 years, a lot of it injury-wise. Onwuzurike, free agent. How important is it? You're right that maybe you take that Philly model of how they played interior D-line play throughout the playoffs. Is that what everybody's looking to do now, including the Lions?
I think it's a perfect model to go after. Philadelphia did a fantastic job to not blitz one time in the Super Bowl against Mahomes, and those guys. So, and I think Vic Fangio had a great game plan going in, and both sides of the ball leaned on Kansas City, and it was something that we did at Michigan in 21 and 22, and they did it again in 23. That's why, you keep the game close in the first half, and then you step on the pedal in the second half, and you just start pouring it on because the other side's getting tired.
I wonder what kind of market there will be for Levi Onwuzurike, because I know PFF loves him. His numbers were up, but as far as the impact plays, the splash plays, and of course the back issues, how do you see that? I think he's going to be leaving, but how do you see it?
No, the best thing that we have at Detroit is that we have inside knowledge on what's going on with him. So it'll tell you exactly what they think of him by what they do with him.
Yeah. And
if he's healthy, I think he's going to get re-signed. So if he's not, they're going to let him walk. So
it's interesting. You mentioned before about Brad staying the course. I mean, Jonah Jackson was a good player, but again, Rams come a calling with 16, 17 mil a year. And Brad probably looked up and said, I can get Zeitler on a 1 year, older player, but on a 1 year for 6.5. And that might have to be how he does it again this offseason with Levi or whomever. But it worked. I mean, Zeitler had a great year.
Yeah, no. And yeah, I mean, everything's a gamble because the way I explain it to people is, every player is a proverbial widget, and you have to go to the owner and be like, I want you to invest in this widget with a minimum of whatever the rookie minimum is. So you better know everything about that widget to give your best sales presentation moving forward to signing, that player / widget. And it's, and they do their homework. And I can guarantee you they know every ins and outs of each player that is on the roster and each player that is in the league. And it's your job as a scout to know what every player in your region, what he had for breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and what his habits are. So whenever they bring his name up, you can either give the thumbs up or the thumbs down and have reasons why you're giving, said evaluation.
Mock drafts, free agency, obviously all that coming up right now, and people guessing at where the Lions are going. You and I have talked a little bit here just about interior defensive linemen, another edge. I mean, Davenport wasn't healthy last year, all of that. Any other positions of need stand out for you as we talk about what the Lions could be doing?
No, I mean, it's just, you expect Alex to be healthy at the linebacker position. Campbell's playing well. Laporta's under contract at tight end. I could see him possibly going offensive line that late in the first round, over D-line, because everything that I'm reading, is that this is going to be a pretty deep draft for those two positions. So there ought to be some good value there late in the first round.
Well, Brad Holmes surprised us a couple of years ago, went running back at 12. That turned out to do all right.
It did okay. Yeah.
Bradford, great to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure. We'll do it again sometime soon.
All right. Appreciate it, Matt.
You got it. There he is, Bradford Banta with us, the former Lion, on a Thursday, Locked On Lions.